Let's dive right into this. Look, if you're a man over 50, you have likely survived a few things by now, and you've probably noticed that all that hyper-motivational online hustle culture, it's a complete lie. Honestly, motivation is an incredibly fragile fuel source. It performs great when conditions are perfect, but it collapses completely under sustained pressure. So today, we're tossing motivation out the window. Instead, we're looking at a clinical, matter-of-fact operating system called the Roman Protocol. Throughout this explainer, we're going to see exactly how to apply ancient Roman military science and Stoic philosophy to your health and performance. We're talking about building a rock-solid structure that holds you up when you have absolutely nothing left in the tank.
Consider the stark contrast between a goal intention and an implementation intention. Now, a goal intention relies entirely on fleeting motivation. It's the classic, hey, I want to get fit. But an implementation intention? That relies on a rigid system. And the core thesis we're exploring today is simply this. Human physiology absolutely does not care about your feelings. It only responds to the physical and cognitive stimulus you provide. Discipline is not some magical feeling you just summon on a freezing cold morning. It's a rigid architectural structure that you build. Basically, either you have the system in place or you don't.
So consider this your field manual. We're going to build this interconnected system layer by layer today. First up, the Stoic operating system. Then, Zone 2 Legion training. Third, the anti-inflammatory Legion diet. And finally, cold exposure and recovery. Let's get to it. Starting with Module 1, the Stoic operating system. This is our mental layer.
Picture the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius for a second. He didn't run the largest empire in the Western world while surviving plagues and brutal wars, mind you, by just feeling motivated. No way. He ran it from a military tent on the freezing Danube frontier using a non-negotiable daily mental structure. Fast forward to 1999, and psychological researcher Peter Gollwitzer actually validated this exact ancient approach. He proved that the specificity of a plan predicts your follow-through way more reliably than willpower ever could. If you define exactly when, where, and how you will act, which science calls an implementation intention, your behavioral follow-through actually increases by 2 to 3 times. The Roman legion didn't ask their soldiers to politely form an intention to train. They removed the decision entirely by specifying the exact time, the place, and the gear.
So here is a highly actionable 2-minute morning protocol based right on that ancient Stoic practice. Grab a pen and paper before you even look at your phone. Step 1. State today's standard as a cold, hard fact. For example, I will train at 05:45. Step 2. Identify the vulnerability. Ask yourself, where's today most likely to break? Well, maybe it's a late afternoon meeting that you already know should have just been an email. Step 3. Write the contingency. If the meeting runs late, I will train tomorrow at 05:30. By doing this, you are preemptively mapping out and defeating the day's obstacles while you're still fresh. You completely bypass decision fatigue later in the day.
All right, moving on to Module 2, Zone 2 Legion training. This is the physical layer.
You know, the Roman military wasn't out there hunting for genetically gifted athletes. Instead, they took ordinary men and placed them into a relentless, highly structured physical system. Think about this. 20 miles a day, 60 pounds of armor and kit, a steady 4-mile-per-hour pace. But here is the absolute key. They maintained a pace where full conversational sentences were possible. They didn't sprint, and they didn't just stroll. Empirically, 2,000 years ago, the Roman military discovered exactly what we now know as modern Zone 2 cardiovascular training. This is the exact, precise intensity that builds a massive aerobic engine without destroying a soldier's legs.
Because here's the truth. Moderate intensity is a compromise that produces compromised adaptations. If you're sweating hard and breathing heavy, but not actually sprinting, you're stuck in that murky, moderate zone. The Romans avoided this entirely. They used polarized training. That meant the slow, conversational Zone 2 march for hours, paired with high-intensity, double-weight weapons drills. And, for a man over 50 today, pairing slow Zone 2 cardio with heavy, high-intensity strength finishers builds sustainable, elite capacity without totally trashing your joints.
Let's look at Module 3, the Legion diet, the nutrition layer.
The Roman army didn't mess around with diet fads or abstract nutrition philosophies. They had a literal supply line engineered strictly for keeping fighting men functional at a very high output across decades. Let's break it down. Their emmer wheat and lentils, that's our modern whole grains and legumes, providing crucial fiber for glucose regulation. Then they drank pasca, which was vinegar and water, essentially today's apple cider vinegar. Add to that their vital salt rations, which provided crucial electrolyte replacement and maintained neurological function during heavy output. Finally, they ate dried oily fish, which shuts down inflammation with a heavy omega-3 load, and their daily olive oil ration delivered the polyphenols needed to modulate inflammatory damage. It wasn't a diet, it was a clinical supply line for the body.
But it's not just about what you eat. It's about the logistics of timing, especially to protect aging joints and tissue. Just like a Roman quartermaster, you've got to time these anti-inflammatory agents immediately after your physical training block to accelerate repair. The window matters. Within 90 minutes of training, you want to hit the body with a 35 to 45 gram protein anchor, a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil for that immediate polyphenol load, omega-3s to terminate acute inflammation, and your POSCA protocol to manage the carbohydrate glucose spike.
Finally, Module 4, Cold Exposure and Recovery, the hardening layer.
Roman legions stationed on the Rhine frontier would voluntarily bathe in freezing rivers in the dead of January. Why? To systematically and biologically harden their troops against the environment. They were essentially practicing hormesis. Now, hormesis is a controlled, recoverable biological stress applied consistently which forces the body to produce an adaptive response that exceeds its original baseline. Let me be absolutely clear about this. This is not some modern wellness ritual or relaxing spa day. It is a calculated biological stressor meant to literally force structural and metabolic adaptation in your body.
And the chemical response to this is absolutely staggering. Exposing your body to 57-degree Fahrenheit water triggers a massive 530% spike in norepinephrine, right alongside a 250% spike in dopamine. This isn't just a placebo effect or feeling refreshed. This fundamentally alters a man's neurological resilience, alertness, and pain tolerance for hours. The Roman soldier who stepped out of that freezing Rhine was, neurochemically speaking, a completely different, more lethal man than the one who woke up warm in his tent.
Modern data completely backs this up too. The Bungie trial proved that just 30 seconds, literally half a minute, of daily cold exposure leads to a 29% reduction in illness and sick days compared to an untrained baseline. Now, the Roman centurion didn't have clinical trials, right? But he had empirical field data showing that his hardened soldiers survived the brutal winter campaigns while unhardened enemies simply died. The science today perfectly aligns with that ancient practice.
So, what does this all mean for us today? The choice is entirely yours. Will you continue to rely on fleeting motivation, or will you actually build the architecture? Remember, motivation is a lie that will absolutely abandon you when life gets difficult.
The Roman protocol is a structure that runs whether you feel like it or not. The real decision isn't some dramatic, sweeping declaration. It's simply the choice you make tomorrow morning when your alarm goes off. The protocols are ancient. The science is modern.